All right. So I thought I was going to be posting a loss next, but I just played a single game, and that game propelled me from rank 10 to rank 7. So just coming off that win, I think I'd rather make a video about that, as I think it was a really really good game. Um, a bit frustrating for the three other players, but very clean win for myself. Um, so yeah, now number 7. If I win one more game, I think it might bring me up to number 2. If I gain like 15 points off it. So, we're, the rest of us in the top 10 are all pretty bunched up here, whereas number 1 is a full 100 and some points ahead of us. So I'd probably need to win like 7, 8 games in a row to get to number 1. So, but well, we have months left in the season. Um, so yeah, let's go through this win. Yeah, I just came off this game, so it's more fun to explain it right afterwards. Um, Also, it's more helpful for myself, right? If I'm going to learn something from it, I need the game, fresh in my memory. All right, so here we are. Let's look at the competitors. Yeah, this was a pretty strong board. There were no weak players here. Black. OJ's on. This was his first placement game, but he was okay last season. Um, I mean, 29.5 is more than okay. 29.4 for red. 36.8 last season. So it's just a strong player, a strong table. And it feels like black is probably the strongest. 60 games, 35% last season, 32.6. But to be honest, I shouldn't underestimate any of these players. Yeah. So looking at the board, I'm in first position, which feels like a rarity, even though it is supposed to be uh, 1 out of 4 games. Um, Lots of wood brick. 3 players at least should get the brick. It's isolated on the coasts, but 3 players should get the brick. Everybody should get wood. Everyone who wants wood should get wood. There's a lot of ore. It's really the wheat that's the the issue here. Only 2 good wheat tiles. Um, and we'll see that this plays out. The 5 over here could be triple shared, right? If people make certain decisions, right? Just it plays out a little differently than expected, but from my vantage point in first, I would imagine the 5, 9, 10. I'm even looking at the 5, 9, 10 myself, right? Until I sort of changed my perspective about that, but I would imagine the 5, 9, 10 is going first here, or second, if I go with the 5, 8, 10 on the right side, for example. So what I'm seeing is this 5 here could be triple shared, but it also very well could be just double shared. It could be the most common, block on this table. So for me, it's the isolated wheat on the right hand side. And the other thing that I'm noticing here is that either the 6-3 brickport or the 6-2 wheatport will be available. So I can stake a strong OWS claim on this board, and there will be lots of road comp. The only thing I'm a little worried about is that what if the 6-9-3 player at the top somehow ends up on the other 5? That obviously concerns me greatly. I'm hoping that the 5 wheat on the left side gets immediately walked, with 5, 9, 10 and 5, 6, 11 being the next 2 picks. But there's really no guarantee that will be the case. But I have a feeling that will be the case, right? If I'm in second here, I'm taking 5, 9, 10 down, or 5, 9, 10 left, and then if I'm in third, I'm probably taking the 5, 6, 11, knowing that one of the brick spots is likely to be available, as fourth is not likely to do 8-3-4, 8-3-4 with no wheat. It just doesn't seem great. Seems like fourth is better off taking some, if he does go wheatless, at least taking some ore here. Um, so I take the 5-8-10 again, anticipating either 6-2 or 6-3 on the way back, or maybe things go a little differently and we get like, I don't know, if fourth takes the 6-9-2 and the 8-4-3, one of the 8-4-3s, I might get the 4-9-11, which is also pretty attractive here. You could trade for brick, get to the Europort. So several good options with this. I mean, I want to play OWS on this board with the road competition, but the biggest inducement for this 5-8-10 spot is just the private wheat. The private wheat is important. As far as the sheep is concerned, I didn't even mention that resource. There's a good bit of sheep on this board. It seems like every player will have sheep, by the way. So second off the board by red is the 5-6-11. I'm not quite sure why you would take that in second. And to be honest, my first feeling was to feel a little bit of worry, because I'm thinking that, okay, maybe he's taking all the ore on the way back. That's what he's hoping for. He'll lock himself in the middle. He won't really have a port, but he could prove a big thorn in my side for OWS. It's just taking that in second is strange to me. When you could simply take the 5-9-10 and then, it just feels like that makes more sense. I'm not sure what his reasoning is here. And he points left. I mean, the only spot open to the left would be the 6-12. It just seems a little awkward to me. The board could get a little locked up by third and fourth. So yeah, actually, when he picked this, I started to feel a little concerned because I really don't want to see red getting that 6-9-3. That would again be a big thorn in my side. I mean, we'd have pretty equal OWS, and I would start with a port. So I still think I could beat him on army pacing, but yeah, it's a strange second pick. 5-9-10. And then black goes with the 6-9-3, 8-4-3. So we kind of saw this. Kind of feel like black should have taken the 6-9-2 to start with a wheat. I don't know what black is doing here. I don't get it at all. I mean, if I'm black, I'm thinking it's very possible that the middle gets locked up. So that road, from the 6-9-3 might be leading to nowhere. Yeah, I don't like what he's doing here. And then OJ takes the 9-10-11. So yeah, now clearly black's road is a road to nowhere. He doesn't start with any wheat. He barely has any wood. I don't like black's position. OJ taking the 9-10-11, I think makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's an amazing setup, but I think I think he goes for the 3-1 port. He has a road connect. He can fight devs. He can fight, using all of his extra wood and brick. He can, he's got good ratios of ore and wheat. So this to me looks like a longest road, maybe 3 cities, 1 VP, or longest road, 4 cities type setup. Definitely he could get out to the 5-2 or to the wheat port. Although, spoiler, I end up taking the 6-2 myself. But I quite like what OJ did here. He could have taken the 6-3-11 or the 8-4-10, but I think the double or good ratios, road connect. I like what he's doing. I like how he's thinking about this. And then red takes the 4-8-10. I have no problem with this. He's it actually really worked out for red on this board. It didn't have to work out for red. Black could have, I guess he was always going to get either an ore or a brick spot, so it's fine. It worked out for him. Still, I don't know what he was thinking with that initial pick, valuing the sheep to such a degree. But very critically here, the 5 wheat is just double shared, so it's a great block target for me. I'm noticing that, whereas I've obviously got the private wheat, a huge advantage, and the 9 ore, should black and OJ be the, the scary ones. The 9 ore provides a good blocking target as well. And then yeah, I'm stuck with either 6-3-11 or 6-2. And I go with the 6-2. You know, in the back of your head, right? There's some part of your mind that's always telling you to take the 6-3-11. But to be a good ranked Catan player, you need to shut out entirely that voice in your head that says take the 6-3-11, and you have to take the 6-2. Um, Obviously, only through playing a lot of games is this obvious, but let me explain why it is, why it is the right choice. No one else has good OWS, at least starting OWS. Black has no wheats. He will get on 11, but that's not great. You know, OJ will never get on any sheep, and Red will have he'll never get on any ore, but he will get the wood for it, and he'll have a lot of wood for it. But again, importantly, no one starts with good OWS. That's what I care about, right? Obviously, it's good to be cognizant of the fact that some other players that could develop OWS setups, pseudo OWS setups over time. But the important thing is that no one is starting with a good OWS setup. So as will become clear and more in my games, right? That's a big aspect of it's a big strategy. One of my many strategies, but a very big and important one. So we're starting with a low production setup. I mean, we took a 6-2, but a 6-2 coastal spot is still 6 points of production, and 8-4-3, for example, is 10 points of production. I mean, there's no doubt 6 points of production, on a starting spot, it is low. But I've got the wheat part, and I've got 5 points of wheat production. What else is important about this setup? We've already remarked on the fact that I've got the only good starting OWS. Another thing is I've got a lot of settle spots. I've got on the 8, on the 5, I got the 5-2, unless orange gets there, I've got the 6. So I've got OWS with a lot of road settle potential, which is good if I don't pull VPs, or if for some reason I don't get army. So, and I also have this backdoor road thing around the side of the board, assuming again that orange doesn't get to the 5-2. And then lastly, I've got the ore port, so I'm extremely happy. At this point, I'm, let's say, about maybe 50% confident that I'm going to win this game just based on the initial setup. I roll a 6. I could do ore for sheep here, but I don't. I'm thinking it's close, but what I'm thinking is that I'm not the Rob initially. I think a lot of players will actually view my setup as quite weak. So I think I should be able to avoid the Robs, at least for the first round. It's close. I'm so close to a city, and the problem is that my production is a good bit. My production is fine. The ratios are mostly okay. The ratios are actually basically perfect. But the low production scares me slightly. And the good thing is no one else should be popping too many devs immediately, maybe 1 or 2 there. I think I can go 1 round without, and I have 3 cards. I'm never going to 7 out here. I think I can go 1 round without popping. But it's close. Red rolls a 7, and I don't get blocked. Black gets robbed, and red builds a road to the right. This is basically where the game starts to go haywire for both black and red. This road to the right is, in my eyes, a disaster. It dooms red for sure, and as people see, it does doom red. He's a strong player. Let's look at his win rate again. 29.4. I mean, 36.8 last season. Yeah. I don't get that road. Just go for your wood port. Black has no wheat. Let him get the 3-6-11. Anyway. OJ's turn. OJ rolls an 11. OJ does a trade with black. Black's turn. 4. Black's trying to trade. He's offering OJ non-blocks for a trade. OJ says yes. Black builds 2 roads to defend that spot. So what's important here? Red has wasted a road. Black has wasted a road, going to 0 cards. And this is all over a 3, 6, 11. Black could just go to the 4, 11. Red shouldn't have even built that road at all. They're fighting. They're gonna put each other in bad moods. And I can just sit here and chill. I'm very happy. I roll a 5. Considering the race that is going on, well, it's not a race anymore because Red has lost the spot. But considering what's just happened, I don't think I'm the Rob. I think that if Red rolls 7, he's gonna maybe even solo Black. I decide, because I'm so close to a city, my production is low. I decide to hold for the city. Six rolls, I have a city. Three rolls. I'm somewhat skipping, the hands of the other players. Trying to make this video slightly shorter. Once we get further into the game and, more important things are happening, I will, we'll look at the hands of other players, but, right now I think it's fine. Importantly, OJ does buy a dev here, leaving him with 2 and actually OJ, this is my first time looking at the game. I didn't realize his first dev pull was a mono. That's interesting. OJ's probably feeling quite good about himself here. He's not involved in the plow. He has a mono, 2 in hand. Okay. Black's turn. 6 rolls. Black's trying to give away his ore. Obviously, Black has a wheat problem. He also has a brick problem. He also has a wood problem. Black has problems. I roll an 11. I build a city. Nothing else to do. Red's turn. Let's look at Red's hand. Red's got a big hand. Red rolls a 7, loses that big hand, and steals from OJ. I don't know if this is to get OJ's or put that there. I do not know how to edit videos, but I will try to learn to piece these 2 videos together. Anyway, I built my city. Now we're on Red's turn. Red rolls a 7, loses this big hand, and he blocks the 10, robs OJ. I don't know if that's to get OJ's ore. I also have an ore in hand. It might be anger at the deal that Black and OJ made to get Black that 2-road plow on Red. I'm not sure. Red buys a dev, which turns out to be a knight. OJ's turn. So critically here, OJ does not play a dev, alerting me to the fact that he has a non-knight. 10 rolls, it's blocked. OJ passes. It's Black's turn. 9 rolls. Black's trying to get that settled down. He's trying to give away his ore. He's trying to give away cards. Or he's trying to build a city, get 2 wheat. That's never going to happen here. 10 rolls, nothing I can do. 11 rolls. Red ports down for a road. I do not know if I do not think that is a good use of cards. But that's what he does. Yeah, don't love that move by Red. On the other hand, it is quite critical that he gets to that port. That port really activates his game here. So, OJ's turn. 10 rolls again. I've just lost, 6 ore? OJ builds a road. He's trying to give away wood. Black and OJ are negotiating. Nothing happens. OJ has a stuck hand, but he, has his mono. Black's turn. Black rolls a 7 and solos me. So this solo has to do with the non-block deal, the 2 non-block deals that Black made with OJ. I have a city. I'm showing the most points. I'm not gonna get angry about this. So really unfortunate block for me. That 5 wheat is really necessary for me. Red's turn. I got more sheep. Red passes. OJ's turn. I got more sheep. Black does say sorry, blue, non-block for OJ, and I want to keep this friendly with me and Black. I feel Black's the weakest player with his setup at the table, so I just say no worries. Black and OJ negotiating. Doesn't work out. OJ passes with 6 cards again. Same hand. Black's turn. 4 rolls. Black is desperately trying to get some wheat to settle our city here. And he ends up 4 for 1-ing and settling. Yeah, I mean, he got his spot. Sure. But, as long as the 11 doesn't roll, he's got big production. He just doesn't really have, he just has sheep to 4 for 1. And he's got big production, but it's all going to go to these 4 for 1 trades because these 4 for 1 ports because nobody's going to want his sheep really at this point, except for OJ. But yeah, I don't like Black's setup at all. Passes. 5 rolls. That's pretty devastating block for me. I'm obviously trying to trade for a wheat with orange and red, who just got wheat. I fail. I try to give 2. I tried to give 2 just to manage my hand. I've got 6 cards. If I can give 2, I go down to 5 cards. And with the 5 block, it's pretty unlikely I'll 7 out if I go to 5 cards here. But unfortunately, I fail to trade, and I fail to get a trade, and I just 4 for 1 for a wheat. Seems logical here. If we get more 8s or if we get a 6 or 10, I'm setting myself up for a pop next turn. And my hand is vulnerable, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be robbed here. I feel like red is gonna blocked OJ. He robbed OJ last time because of that deal. He might rob Black. And Black's also showing 3 points. I think I'm not gonna get robbed here. We roll a 10. Yeah, I do sheep for wood brick. I try that trade, but I fail. It's been a hard table for trading. He ends up taking 2 sheep for a wood brick with Black. Now, I saw that trade. I could have accepted it myself. He probably would have taken it with me, but basically, I just didn't want to remove these sheep from my hand for a road, right? Just like that other game I posted, I don't care about road settling here. I've already got my port. Now, mind you, it's not the ideal port because I'm going to need to use the wheat. Much better. Would be much better to have a 3 for 1. But I'd rather keep the dev in my hand. I'm prioritizing getting army over building roads here. I could have given him that trade, but I'm just worried about the 8 being a block. If the sheep is blocked, and I've got a road, that's not what I want. I want to buy devs. This is also very critical. Red plows OJ. Does that make sense for red? I get it. He's angry at OJ, but even without that anger, right? That spot's great for him. It really activates the wood port that he's about to get. Then every 10 becomes a free card. I get it. No way to make friends. OJ rolls a 6. OJ builds a city. Black rolls an 8. I am over. So I'm trying to give away two sheep here to Black. I'm this is another example of me just like spamming trades. I spam 2 sheep for a wheat, but black clearly doesn't have that. I'm just opening up, I just do this in a sort of unthinking way. I just spam trade, hoping to, get under 8 cards, but I failed to do that. I would have probably done two sheep for a brick there, even for a wood maybe, but he doesn't have either of those things. I would have done 2 sheep for an ore, but so that's a little bit of a mistake. I should have offered 2 sheep for an ore there, knowing that he had an ore, but this is all taking place over like seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. So it's quite hard. But I don't think he would have given it to me anyway. It would have just given him a hand of 5 sheep. Anyway, we not 7. I'm desperately trying to, get 2 devs, but I only get 1, which is fine. I pass. Red rolls a 10, putting more ore into my hand. Red starts dropping roads. OJ rolls a 9. OJ's got a big hand here. Wow. Okay, that makes sense with what happens next. He's trying to trade for road, settle. He doesn't get it, so he just does road, and plows red. As we can see, there have been many plows this game. This is an important turn, just because, it's the 3rd plow that's happened so far. Black plowed red plowed OJ, OJ plowed red. So we have so many wasted roads here. To be honest, this makes a lot of sense from OJ. Even from a non-revenge perspective. He was probably trying to road settle the 5-2, honestly. I'm not sure, but point is, this gives OJ space for road, which is kind of necessary for his game. So now he's on 5 points with road. Not great from a pacing perspective, but he needed to build that 3rd road to fully plow red. So, I think it actually makes a lot of sense what he did there. But critically for OJ, he doesn't have a port. He has no sheep. He looks like he's ahead, but he's really not. He's in a tough spot. I'd much rather be me here. I mean, frankly, I'd rather be me than any of these other players. I feel like I've been winning from the start, and I never am not winning this game. Okay, Black's turn. Black rolls an 8. I've, got a stuck hand, but there's really no trade I can do with Black. It would have to be a 3 for 1, and, Black and I have the same cards. He's not going to take 3 sheep for, an ore. Doesn't help him. Alright, unless he wants to buy a dev, I roll an 8. Or, I'm sorry, I obviously play the knight off of my 5. I ask for a wheat non-block. No one has. Critically here, Red says he has a knight, which is true. I decide there's no reason to make Red play his knight. Red is in a tough spot. To be honest, all 3 of them are in a tough spot, but I'm okay with blocking the 9 here. There is a lot of ore. I was between the 5 and the 9, and OJ's 9 as well. And then, unfortunately, I roll a 7, discard, do a wood non-block. I got an OK from Red. I solo block OJ, just, because if it goes on the 5, I just know that Red's likely to play it onto the 10, rob OJ, but I don't want my 10 to be blocked. That's my double door. I drop a road for hand management. This is a safe settle. It's also a great settle, since I have double or tripling my wheat is great with the wheat port as well. I try to get a wheat, but they've already said there's none, so it's it's just a time-wasting trade. But, again, it's just, I spam trades. It's, in ranked, it's what must be done. Alright. It's Red's turn. 9 rolls. And also critical is what's going on in the chat right now. OJ is a little upset that he's being blocked and soloed, but, I decided to take Red's side of the argument. Sorry, but you kind of ended Red's game. Red builds a road. Again, we're seeing OJ has a non-knight. So I'm thinking maybe OJ's on 6 here, But again, with no port, It's just tough for OJ. It's tough for everybody. Black rolls a 5. Black is trying to trade for, you guessed it, for wheat. He fails. He ports for a wheat hand management. He's pretty close to a city, but nobody's giving him wheat here. He could have tried wheat for ore with me. You know what's funny is, yeah, and that wouldn't have worked. Wouldn't be settle city for me, so I wouldn't take it. I pop a dev first, of course. I'm really trying to get knights here. And then here, I can city again, but it paces me ahead, right? OJ is showing 5, I'm showing 3. I'd much rather stay on 3 here. So I try to do a deal with red, and this is a big trade for me. One of the more critical trades of the game, I would say. I do 2 ore for 2 sheep with red, and pop 2 devs. I get a road builder knight. Why is this critical? I go to 0 cards, which is great for me. I eliminate the odds of 7ing out. And, now I'm a lot closer to army than I was. So that makes me feel comfortable. Is it a bad idea to give red 2 ore here? It gives him a dev, sure, but what does red even have here? He's so far from a city, even still. I guess if the 10 rolls and he doesn't have a city this turn. I guess that's unfair to say he's far from a city. He's not far. I guess if he rolls a 5, he could do like 2 or 3 cards for an ore. But, yeah, I'm not worried about red. The double pop is worth it to me. Red is not blocked. He doesn't play his knight. Fine with me. He doesn't roll anything. He simply buys a dev, which turns out to be another knight. The reason I'm not that worried is I know I can outpop red at this point. Especially with the Yop if it becomes absolutely necessary. Alright, OJ has a huge hand. Wow. In a way, OJ looks great, right? We're table talking. I'm accusing him of 6 points or 5 points with a mono, which is totally true. He goes to 6 points and passes. Seems like he could try to, trade for a dev there. Does anybody have sheep? Nope, I guess not. Okay, so he really can't do anything there. He has no other settle up to city. So OJ's kind of stuck here, but he's on 6 points with a mono, but no port critically and no sheep. But it's great for me because I can table talk OJ all day now. Black's turn. Black cities. Finally. Because of the 11. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to look at that. So Black cities because of the 11. That's his best roll. Yeah. We're talking. We are, I'm table talking OJ. And critically, I roll a 7. Maybe OJ could have done some sort of trade there with Black. OJ could have given him like wheat's wood for ore. Feels like that would benefit both of them, but OJ doesn't try. Maybe that's a mistake on OJ's part. Also a mistake on Black's part for not, maybe offering insurance for a wheat there. OJ 7s and I block the 9. I could block the 5, but I don't want to force red to play his knights onto the 10. I don't care about red. I really don't. But I recognize that he has 2 devs, so I recognize that I need to get a knight, and I fail. I can't get a trade-off. But critically, red isn't playing knights for pacing. It's like he's not even going for army, right? I think he was trying to pop for utility and failed. He kind of knows he's not getting army here. OJ's in a tough spot. He's trying to give away these crazy trades, but let's see. Yeah, he fails to get any sort of trade with 7 cards. He passes. He goes over again. Black should be getting wheat out of OJ's hand here, but let's see if that happens. Critically, Yeah, he OJ doesn't want to participate in this negotiation with black. OJ could actually offer 3 cards here and go under. He doesn't. Instead, I trade with black. I give up my city for another dev, right? I realize it's critical now. I need that 3rd knight. I give black city. Black still is not on a port. He barely has wheat. I'm not concerned. I roll a 7. So OJ there, I feel like he could have given black that city and a bunch of other cards and avoided a 7 out, but he let me have the trade. I solo OJ. So OJ just lost a huge hand down to that. I've got my dev. I've got my city, but I go for the dev. Now I've got army. I'm happy. I use the road building. Why do I do this? Well, it sets up a double play opportunity. OJ's only on 5 roads. If I build 2 more roads, that would actually be 7. So if I pull another road builder, even with no wood brick, I have a double play opportunity here. I also do that to keep OJ off the 5-2. I don't want my 5 to ever be blocked. I don't think he's going there because it doesn't really make a lot of sense with this road on the left side, but I also have too many playable devs. It secures the safe settle spot, and it enables me to pace army and play the op in the future. Red rolls a 5. I have a city. Red's trying to trade. They're talking. They're negotiating. All right, so they come up with a deal. Red and OJ come up with a deal. Shows you Red's a good player. He's not too upset about the plow. He gets a city in exchange for moving the knight off of OJ. Let's look at Red's hand. Yep. So he gets 2 war, and in agreement, in exchange for that, he moves the knight off of OJ. Makes a lot of sense for Red here. This is his only play. Maybe he gets lucky and gets army and road. He can also set up a double play here for sure. He can get to 7 roads up at the top by looping the 8. Or by coming down, he can build even more roads. So I understand why Red is doing this. He doesn't have much of a choice, I would argue. All right, back to my perspective, and it's OJ's turn. 9 rolls. OJ's got a huge hand. OJ builds another city. That's a big, Let's see. OJ rolls a 9, builds a settle. Sorry, he didn't build a city. I apologize there. Got a little confused. OJ just builds a settle. But that in the future will enable him to city for 8, maybe 9 points, right? Because we're not sure if it's a mono or VP at this point. He almost has the city for 8 points. So now, it's time for some table talk. 8 points, I say. He says no. Which to me makes it clear that it's a mono. It could be a road builder, but it's best to assume it's a mono at this point. Black just passes. I roll a 6. I block the wheat, knowing that OJ has ore in his hand. It could be that the 9 is the block here. It may have been a little bit of a mistake on my part. OJ actually has the wheat he needs already to build the next city, so probably the 9 was the block there. But I blocked the 5 because I'm also looking at Red's position, and I want to start the table with wheat. But it could have been the 9 there. It's close. Let's go back to my perspective. I've got a city. I roll a 6. I'm trying to trade for the settle on the ore port, right? Because I've got a bunch of ore in my hand, but I fail, and I just build another city. I'm okay with that because I've already got army. Red plays a knight, and robs OJ. Makes a lot of sense. Robs OJ again, buys a dev. So Red is hunting down my army, and he gets a knight. It's quite critical. So I definitely, I need another knight here. OJ rolls a 7, or sorry, apologize. OJ rolls an 8. OJ's hand looks like this. He has a dev, and he's smart. He takes the dev. Let's see what it is. It's just a 9, but from my perspective, OJ looks like he could be on 9 points now. Black has a huge turn, 14 cards. I say, Black, can you fight Road? OJ table talks me, accuses me of wanting to double play. I say, you're on 9, maybe I don't have VP. He says, same, no VPs. I say, whoa, you got mono then? Nope, yup, and knight. So he's lying, of course. Black passes with all those cards. I roll a 4. I try to trade again. But critically here, I take army, knowing that I need to. I have no choice. I rob OJ of his wheats. He only has 1 card. It's a wheat. And I pop a dev. It is not a knight. So now I'm in danger of losing army for sure. But important here, I'm not blocking red, right? I don't want red to play his knights. I want to get another knight or two before red plays his knights. Red 7's out. OJ's still table talking me. And red robs me instead of OJ. Recognizing that OJ has 0 cards. Oh yeah, that makes sense. He has to rob me there. OJ rolls a 7. Black 7's out again. So black went from 16 cards to 4. Yeah. Red says brutal. Of course, brutal. Black has not gotten a port. He, for some reason, really wanted that 6-3-11. And he's paying the price now. OJ robs me. Has a sheep in hand. 10 rolls. 9 rolls. I'm trying. Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty critical too. So I'm worried now. I don't have a knight. I'm on 7 points. I need another knight. It's possible that OJ just wins, right, with another city, but I can't do anything about that. No, I need to secure army. And I failed to, but I do get a mono. 2 rolls, which is an amazing roll for me. Red has 8 cards. But this is really important what happens here. I'm table talking OJ. OJ just wins here. Red, will you take road? Red, I don't want red to buy devs. I don't want red to fight my army. I want him to build road. And guess what? He does. Beautiful. My road sneak idea is basically gone now, but it doesn't matter. I've prevented OJ from winning this turn in case he does have 2 VPs and, he could city for the win. That turns out not to be the case. He has 0 VPs, but don't want to take that risk. And most importantly, I don't want red buying dev. So I put it in his mind to take road, and he does. I would have traded him the brick too. 10 rolls. OJ has an incredible number of cards. OJ is rolling like a god here. I can't wait to see the rolls at the end. OJ is trying to trade. He just settles. So, maybe settling for 8 points, right? And 4 roads for the win. But the good thing is that red can keep extending here. Black rolls. Black and I are trying to trade, and ultimately we do. And why is this important? I'm on 8 cards, right? I don't mind giving black stuff here. Black is so far behind the rest of us. I know he wants wheats. I have a bunch of wheat. I might as well trade him. So I give him 2 wheat and an ore for wood sheep. And it gives him a city. That's fine. Black goes to 6 points, but he can settle for 7, but he's got a tough road after that. But critically gives me 7. I do roll a 5, so I didn't roll a 7, but even still, let's manage that hand size and minimize 7 outs. It's a critical part of the game. I have a beautiful hand. I settle for 8 points. I try to trade for a dev. And I just mono the wheat. I have the wheat port. I know there's a lot of wheat out there, and again, let's go back to the beginning of my turn. So I've got, well, at the beginning of my turn, I had perfect settle. It's quite clear. I need to take the settle here because I still have a dev in hand critically. I suppose you could pop first here, but I'm looking for the win. I'm on 7 points. I know there's a lot of wheat out there. 2 in Red's hand, 4 in OJ's hand, and we can see the wheat stack. So I settle first to see if, using 1 wheat reduces the wheat stack, and it does not, which means there's quite a bit of wheat out there, right? I'm pretty set on monoing the wheat this turn. So I do try to first trade my wheat away, of course. Dirty mono style. But I fail to be able to trade. OJ says GG, but it's not necessarily the case. So I've got 6 wheat in hand. Or sorry, I've got 9 wheat in hand. And 2 ore. I could settle. If I settle, I'll have what? 2 wheat, 2 ore. So I can't settle city. I'm 1 card off to settle city. I could city dev, but to me, because I don't have the guaranteed win here, I want to buy at night. I'm still worried about Red taking army away from me. So I pop a dev to buy a knight, knowing that if I do get the knight, I can city. And if I get a VP, of course, I will just win the game. So I buy a dev, and I get a VP, giving me the perfect hand for a win. Let's look at the dice stats on this game. I should have done this in my previous videos as well, but I didn't. The dice are a little bit strange. No 12s. Quite a lot of 10s. Yeah, super beneficial. I mean, a lot of those 10s were actually blocked. But a lot of 10s. Good bit of 6s. We love 5s, 6s, 10s. 2 2s. Can't complain about that. How about the 8s? 8s, 6 8s. So okay dice. I mean, pretty solid dice for us, but not only for us. Res card stats, dev card stats, activity stats, resource stats, total resource income. I slightly won on that metric. Total resources gained by rolling dice. Second to the lowest there. I mean, OJ for sure produced the most cards with his cities. Yep, but didn't have a port. So very, very low efficiency on OJ's part. Resources gained by using development cards. Yep, that mono. And the Yop gave me a total 8 cards. Resources gained by trading. I was number 2 on that, so clearly I'm one of the more active traders here. Resources lost by rolling 7. This is very critical, right? 5 versus 12, 8, and 12 for the other players, right? I mean, that can be the difference between a win and a loss, managing your hand. Okay, so yeah, I think the overall lesson of this game is, it's recognizing that by taking the 5-8-10 in the beginning, you're really making a strong claim on OWS. Most likely, you're going to be the only OWS player. Now, the board could play out in a way where someone else is a strong OWS player, but critically, you start with a port, which is very critical. And the wheat port obviously came in handy there at the end for the with the mono. So yeah, the other lesson from this game is this game had 3 separate plows, and all of those players who participated in those plows lost. I think that they all got sidetracked with these silly ideas of plowing, and they didn't do what was absolutely required, which is, getting a port for efficiency. And Black would have been better served by going to the 411. Red would have been better served by not trying to, go back to the 6-3-11, right? Just drop that first road towards the wood port, or the 3-1. The only race that really would have made sense would be to the 3-1 by OJ and Red. So, yep. That win brought me up to number 7, and the next game I will post a loss. Not every game goes this perfectly.